Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog in the animal.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is a man who loves a good musical about Egypt. Frank, how are you today?
I just love a good musical about Egypt. I really do. When they sing about the pyramids, my heart just swoons.
What does one of those songs go like, Frank, out of curiosity?
Pyramids, pyramids, they're going up and they're really smooth. They're not pointy, they're really smooth all the way up because we're in Egypt. Here come the pyramids.
That's on the spot, because you did not know I was going to ask you to sing. Not bad. Nope. Not bad. Halfway through, we were like, why am I singing the Spider-Man theme song about pyramids? Or it was good.
Yep.
It was good. Frank, what beer are you drinking this evening?
Well, my friend, tonight I am drinking a Belgian quad that comes to us from the New Victory Brewing Company, and I find it to be
Victory.
Yes. Victory. And I find it to be, not New Victory, Victory Brewing Hoppy Quad. And it is quite delicious. It's got a little bit of it's a quad with sort of a Pilsner, I don't know how to describe it, Pilsner base. It's sort of like Pilsnery on the front of the palate, and then it gets more sort of, has more of that classic Belgian quad Trappist fruity flavor kind of on the way down.
It's a cool transition. Like
it actually is. Yeah, I like it. I like it quite a bit.
It's just crazy how they can even get a drink to do that. To like
it
starts this way, but 2 seconds into your mouth, it's something else.
It is actually really, I think, like an accomplishment, and it's crazy how that works. But that's what I'm working with. Victory Hoppy Quad. What about you? What are you drinking today?
Well, an episode or two ago, you had mentioned you were drinking a German beer, and I said to myself, why Leopold?
Why does Frank get all the German beers?
Yeah, I said to myself, Leopold, why am I not drinking a German beer? And so, by the way, I changed my name to Leopold.
Oh,
and,
okay. That's the piece that I missed. Yeah,
great, because of Germany, obviously. So I went out and got myself. I'm just so glad you're my friend.
So glad for so many reasons.
I went out and got myself a Hofbräu Hefe-Weizen, which I've had before. It's excellent. It's a banana orange clove mixture, which you wouldn't think. You're like, oh, good, banana. I can't wait to have that in my beer. Shut up. You haven't had it yet. It's so good. It's
very good.
It's really smooth and creamy, though it's not. It's a Hefeweizen, so it's not. It's not a stout, but it has this really, really smooth taste, and it's not like you can't really taste the banana. But if I said banana, you'd be like, yes, that's what that is. It really is very unique, and I would highly, highly recommend the Hofbräu Hefe-Weizen.
Yes, it is. I've also tried that, and it is pretty outstanding. So I'll also give my seal of approval. Not that you need it, but
no, I mean I usually like it when you seal things, envelopes, approvals, anything like that. Do you wax? Are you a wax sealer, Frank, or are you just you just lick it?
Oh no! I actually send an actual baby seal.
Oh,
yeah.
You really go for it. Yeah.
I don't like to do anything, no half measures.
No, just baby seals.
Baby seals.
This
Yeah.
is the seal of approval. It's just holding a little sign.
That's
says,
the Frank
"I approve."
Ramblings seal of approval. It's an actual seal.
Actual baby seal. Well, Frank, do you give your baby seal of approval to the film The Prince of Egypt?
I sure do, Tim. Let
Well,
me tell you why.
Tell me why, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you why, but I first I want to hear your first memories with this movie.
Oh man, I remember going to the theater back in 1990, 98, I think. Yeah. It took me a second. You didn't get that from blah blah blah. Sorry, it's the German beer. I'm all confused. Anyway,
yeah,
I remember going back to see it in 1998, and growing up in a Catholic family, we were like, "Oh man, Moses, I know that guy. He did some stuff. He has a big beard, and then he went off to fight the apes in the future." I know that guy. So
he became Ben-Hur, and then he went to fight the apes.
Wow, that guy has really lived a life, Moses, hasn't he? He's really something. And now he's telling me that guns are good. You know, like we really,
I'm confused.
Yeah. So anyway, so we went to go see The Prince of Egypt, and I remember watching it. I remember watching it in theaters and going, "Wow, they changed the story so much. I hate this."
Oh, really? You didn't like it at first?
No, it was like it was one of my first instances of like being a fanboy and disliking that they changed the story.
Right.
I had to think back after like going, because this was pre-Star Wars, like I'm trying to think what pre-Harry Potter, you know, like all the things that like at that age I was just about, like I was fanboying about. You know, because, well, I could say that I disliked Batman and Robin when I was a kid, but I was just at the point where I couldn't say that I, like, actively disliked it, you know, like, because I just couldn't figure out why I didn't like it as much as other things. What is this feeling of not liking things? And so I remember walking away from The Prince of Egypt going, like, they just, like, where was Aaron? He wasn't with them the whole time, and you know all this crazy stuff. Like why was Zephora like singing songs with him, and like all this different stuff that I just did not get. Because when I was a kid, there was this Ben Kingsley miniseries on TNT because they know drama, and we watched that a lot when we were kids. Not a lot, like it was like the fun. Like some people put on Cars and other people put on Moses. I'm sorry, Ben Kingsley. It wasn't like that, but I remember watching it as a kid and like not being like, but this isn't like the version that I know. Then, upon retrospect, you know, and then watching the movie over and over and over and over again, I'm here to say with my testament of approval that it is one of the greatest animated films of all time. I think it is they tell you right at the beginning where we try to be true to the spirit of the story, you know, even if it's not, you know, true to history or scripture itself, you know, it's true to the spirit. And I think in an adaptation of anything, that's really all you can really ask for, be true to the spirit of something. You know, but man, it is just a real spectacular film from top to bottom. The animation is tremendous. Some really, really gorgeous cells that they're working with. And this is just about on the cusp of, we're going to let the computers do all of it. So there's still this hand-painted quality to a lot of the backdrops. And there's actually one particular scene in the song All I Ever Wanted when Moses meets Miriam and Aaron, and they're like, but you're our brother. And he's like, what? Don't say that again, you slave. That scene,
right,
you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Yeah, you know, Provasic, you know that scene?
Yeah,
so,
that ballroom. Yeah.
That ballroom. So there's a bit where the camera is looking at Moses, and then in one fluid motion, it does a swivel to point at the palace of the Pharaoh. But it's all in one seamless shot. And so, which is very unusual. Like, there's no cut. And it's very unusual for an animated film to make that kind of swivel at that time. And they just do it by here's you know, what's behind Moses, and they swivel, and it's a blur of painted colors, and then it goes bam right into the palace, and you almost have to be looking for it to see it. Like to see, like, this is how you did it, to do like the one, like to basically do a 180 with the camera in an animated film. Like what? It's stuff like that. It's just mind blowing. Like real artistry at work from an animated standpoint. Frank, you say things.
Absolutely, I completely agree. It is a huge artistic achievement, and I also really gravitate towards the animation style where you have the merging of some 3D elements with the 2D elements. Still a lot of hand drawn stuff, so there is some real craft to it, a real like made with your hands craft and artistry to it, and then the use of new technology to really bring the visuals to life. It is a really visually beautiful movie, a stunning achievement. I remember seeing it probably not right when it came out, not in theaters, but a couple of years later in school.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and really, really enjoying it then. And the soundtrack is actually
Hans Zimmer, my man Hans.
Yeah, and
lyrics by Steven Schwartz.
Steven Schwartz, and like really like power duo there. Before Hans Zimmer, discovered timpani, and it really, it's an awesome soundtrack, and that's really what I have more exposure to. I've heard the soundtrack a lot more than I've seen the film. So I really love the soundtrack, and then a movie that really stuck with me a little bit later was The Road to El Dorado, and this also being a DreamWorks film made in very much the same style, but in arguably I think a better version of that style in Prince of Egypt.
Say more things now.
In Prince of Egypt, I think it's a better use of that style.
I thought you meant El Dorado was a better use, and I was like extremely interested in how you arrived at that conclusion, because I haven't seen El Dorado in years and years. Like I'm talking like 20 years. So
wow. Okay.
So I was like super interested in how you arrived there, but I understand now. Okay.
No. I think Prince of Egypt did it better. I think maybe because they had sort of more to work with, like better scenery to work with, sort of in what they were, and in the epic, I mean literally biblical epic scale.
Oh yeah.
The
plagues themselves raining it down upon Egypt. I sent the fire raining down. It's that bit where the brimstone rains down and the Pharaoh's eyes light up in the fire. And there's some really great stuff with the reflections in eyes, and there's just some really powerful lighting, even in so when Pharaoh's son dies and he's resting him in the one beam in the under the statues.
The contrast there, the stark dark and light.
There's some really they're all in light and his son is dead and Moses comes out of the dark into the light to reveal. It's just so well done. And again, I said this in our Shazam view when that was released, that the film doesn't call attention to things, and I really appreciate when films for kids especially, don't call attention to things. So when Moses confronts, it's not the right word, when Moses sees the burning bush for the first time, God says to Moses, remove the sandals from your feet, for this place you're standing is holy ground. And Moses takes off his sandals, and he doesn't wear sandals the rest of the movie. He is barefoot the entire film. So, the filmmakers quitted that. It's not just this place with the bush. Every place is holy, so treat all places as holy. It's a very interesting direction that, they took that thing. So, but the movie never calls your attention to it. You see him remove his sandals, and he throws them, and it's this, big thing that you see he removed his sandals. But if you look at his feet, the rest of the movie, he's always barefoot.
I don't think I ever noticed that. That's cool.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And it's just it's just smart storytelling that it's there for you if you want to be there to, to keep it open. There's some beautiful shots of Ramses and Moses talking to Nefertiti and Ramses the First. There's some really great wide shots of, and then the juxtaposition of that when Ramses II is pharaoh and how Egypt has expanded, and like it's stuff like that is just so meticulously thought out.
Yep.
It's almost like I said that I watched the movie with Mary, my fiance, and we were sitting there, and I was watching the movie, and I was like, this movie feels like the circle of life from The Lion King all the time.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It does have that same magic to it.
Yeah, but it's the whole movie. Feels
the whole
like
movie
that.
through. Yeah,
it's not, which is great because Hans Zimmer also does the score to, Hans Zimmer also does the score to The Lion King, including The Circle of Life. That's not an Elton John song,
right?
It's a Hans Zimmer song, and I mean to the line. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know the words that are coming out of my mouth, right?
I do.
They make sense.
Yes.
And so, but there's a really grand majesty to The Lion King into The Circle of Life, and there are other parts of The Lion King that obviously share that majesty, but The Circle of Life, particularly that opening sequence, and there are very few parts of Prince of Egypt that don't feel like that all the time. The time. Let's talk about the cast.
I was just going to say, let's talk about the cast, because it's Batman
stacked.
and Voldemort and Miss Congeniality and
the Grandmaster, and
Catwoman,
and Danny Glover, and all the things that Danny Glover has been in,
and Steve Martin Short,
hilarious duo. So let's talk about Val Kilmer first. Val Kilmer, famously of the musical The Ten Commandments. You can watch it on DVD. It's a real thing. Check it out. Also of Batman fame and Top Gun and many other things.
Sure.
Brings a humanity to a biblical character that the Bible's tough because it's not, unless you really dive into it, it's very easy to paint over one-dimensional characters, one-dimensional people in a story.
Especially in those early books of the Old Testament.
Oh, especially in those early books, exactly. So you really have to dive in. So the screenwriters and the filmmakers and then Val Kilmer was presented with this problem. Like he has to be likable and vulnerable, but also a leader, and like the film really brings out the pain that Moses feels by doing this. He was close with his stepbrother, his foster brother, I guess. He was close with him, and then and in the song, the plague song, he has this sequence, this bridge where he's like, "This was my home." And so he has to go back to his home, this place that he very unwillingly left. He left because he basically had no choice. Well, he did, but he felt like he didn't. And like it was the right thing to do, like this penance that he has to serve going out into the desert. And so for him to be like, this was my home, how this pain and devastation, how it tortures me inside. And it's not even just about the brother. It's about the beautiful architecture that we've been looking at for half the movie is now being destroyed because of his mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, and that's a tough sell from a voice actor. And I think Val Kilmer doesn't get enough credit, I think, for really bringing that vulnerability. There's a whole sequence where he just slumps up against a wall and cries.
Yeah.
That's like the children's animated film,
Oh, yeah.
Do you see that sequence when Shrek gets sad?
I know, right? Like this movie in general deals with some things that are very, very, tough for a kids movie. I mean, the plagues and slavery and genocide and, all these things that are real heavy. Mm-hmm. And it does it really well. And it's sad to me. This movie is very overlooked.
It is and it isn't. I feel like when anybody says like, "Oh, the Prince of Egypt," everyone goes, "Yes, what a great movie."
But it's not. It doesn't ever make like lists of the top 100 animated films, things like that.
Yep.
I just recently I was doing a little bit of research before we got on here, and it didn't get its Blu-ray release until like a year or two ago, a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, which is late, for a movie that came out 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
it took a while. It got DVD release and whatever, but like it took it's not. It doesn't get the same treatment as like I guarantee you, Hotel El Dorado got it years before, and they were only 2 years apart.
Right.
So I don't know why that is, but it does seem to have sort of been somewhat forgotten.
Well, it might just be. It just might be because it's for a specific audience.
Yeah.
In some ways, And so
it very well could be.
Shrek is for anybody. Not that
right.
Not that the story of Moses can't be enjoyed by anybody, whether you're if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, atheist. It's just a good story.
It is, and
it's
especially
a beautifully made movie with a good story.
Yes, it really is, and especially the way this movie handles it. It's not. I mean, the themes of the movie are not necessarily religious themes. The lessons the movie teaches are less. God has a presence in it, right? Like the Israelites are asking for deliverance, and God appears to Moses in the burning bush, and all like those things happen, but the themes of the movie are more about like self-reliance and counting on yourself and believing in yourself, and Moses like working up the courage to go back to his home and stand up to the Pharaoh, and the stubbornness that the Pharaoh has of not wanting to let people go, and learning the lesson that he loses his son because of his own stubbornness, and then that's when he lets go of the power. Like those are really the themes, or it's more about those things. The film is teaching you more about those things than it is about like believe in God and good things will happen to you. Like that's not really the message of the movie. So it's interesting because it's a biblical story, but not necessarily in your face like a believe in God story.
I think it's digestible for anybody, and I think that's why I'm drawn to it more than other. Even than some other films, not even religious films, just films, because I like films that don't slap you over the head with something. Tell me a good story and let me come to my own conclusions, and that makes a huge difference. But we got sidetracked talking about the story again.
Yeah,
after we got to talk about Val Kilmer, so let's talk about Helen Mirren and Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about the fact that they're in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Why do the gods torment me? Like, oh, yeah. Be still, Pharaoh speaks. I say that at home when no one will let me talk.
Nice.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
No,
the cat doesn't listen to you.
No, he does not because he's a cat. Be still, Pharaoh speaks. Yeah. Thanks. He's actually wandering somewhere right now, so who's to say he's not listening to you? Also, because I have headphones on. But Frank, they did a tremendous job, but they're itty bitty parts, and so to get actors of like that caliber, be like, oh, Helen Mirren, you want to come read these 7 lines? Helen Mirren, her, So it really is tremendous, and so if you get into the bigger parts, even Danny Glover, who like brings this real warmth to his 7 lines. You know what I mean? Like you get these really big like even Jeff Goldblum as Aaron is like barely in it. He barely says anything, but he's still in that like I'm acting Jeff Goldblum phase where I'm not just being Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, that's right.
So he brings Michelle Pfeiffer as Zephora and Sandra Bullock as Miriam. There's some real weight to how they present their characters across the board. These are not voice actors; these are actors. Across the board, actors, and like that's not a disparage on voice actors who are incredibly talented group of people. It's actually almost a compliment to the actors because they're not voice actors to be able to bring that level to the microphone. Like traditionally, actors who are not voice actors, not trained voice actors, have a harder time adapting to expressing themselves without their body. And all of them really bring something, but arguably maybe none other greater than Ralph Fiennes as Ramses II, who is magnificent, like truly outstanding in this film.
Incredible performance by him, and in a lot of ways, I really think that he and Val Kilmer, like as a pair, are like the way they played off each other was just like I love the interplay between the two of them. Do you happen to know if they were in the same room when they recorded, or if it was done separately?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. You can use your one lookup if you want.
I guess I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fantastic the way that the two of them interact with one another, and I absolutely love it. Ralph Fiennes is amazing in his portrayal of Ramesses II.
When Moses comes back into the throne room, back into Egypt for the first time, and they embrace each other, and there's this real joy that Ralph Fiennes brings to Ramses, and then to go from that to Moses kind of pleading his case and Ramses listening, and then as it goes and goes and goes and goes, for Ramses' eyes to snap open and for him to stand up, put on his crown, basically, his headpiece, and say, "I do not know this God." And it's just like his delivery of that line is so dead and flat, because that's the Ramses we're dealing with now. So he has gone from this exuberant place of emotional joy right down to this flat declaration as Pharaoh, as king. And it's really, really tremendous work from him. And again, like, this movie just doesn't get recognized for those things the way that it really should.
I agree. I completely agree. I did find a making of The Prince of Egypt here on YouTube, which I will put a link in the show notes. And it looks like from what I can tell, it looks like they're recording separately. Yeah,
which is in a lot of ways even more impressive.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to make it seem that much, that natural, is very impressive.
Yeah, it is not a acting alone is very difficult, and so for them to take the next step from there, and to take the next step from there is just even more grand. It's really, what a time. Really, truly, what a time to be alive. Really. Agreed.
Are there any moments, quotes, like quotable moments for you? Things that stand out the most? Is it that one right there where you talk about being Pharaoh in your house to your cat?
Yes, when I talk about being Pharaoh. Be still, Pharaoh speaks. We've talked about a few of them. The death of Ramses' son, the angel of death, and I do not know this God is particularly good. The whole burning bush sequence, I think, is outstanding, and I've never really seen anything like it in any other adaptation of the Exodus story. It's really, I love that God is the entire cast if you listen to them. So they didn't want one actor standing above the rest of them. So Val Kilmer is kind of like the main voice of God. But then all the other actors, including Sandra Bullock and Michelle Pfeiffer and Ralph Fiennes, they're all whispering underneath. And so I like that it's kind of everybody in all of them. It makes its own little grand statement without making a statement at all.
Right.
And I enjoy that. I do love the little bits of comedy that they felt like they had to sneak in there because it's a kids movie, and
it's a kids movie, right?
Because sometimes they're there when you're not even really looking for them. So I happened to pause very briefly at the beginning of the plague sequence, and when the frogs are hopping down the stairs, and if you look, their eyes are like wicked googly eyes. They're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm out of the water. What do I do? I gotta go to the land. And it's a hilarious little bit of, I don't know, animated comedy to kind of, if you're even looking for it. I do think that the Hoyt Up and Hoyt song there, you're playing with the big boys now, seems very out of place. If you watch the film, I agree. It's almost like in The Dark of the Night from Anastasia, Rasputin's song. It has nothing to do with anything else that is happening.
Let's add some levity. Let's add a comical element to this.
Yep.
I agree.
And it's a fairly sinister song. It's not even that funny. Yeah.
No, but it's let's get these comedians to do this, this funny bit.
Yeah. Get down here, young man. Yeah, it's just
it's lighthearted. It's not it's
comedy. I wouldn't
serious.
Call it comedy. It's lighthearted. There really isn't a lot of comedy in Moses. The arguably the biggest bit of comedy is at the beginning when Moses drops the balloon of punch on Hoyt and Hoyt.
Sure.
And then when he falls into the well.
And
then Zipporah drops him back in. And she drops him back in. That's probably the two biggest instances of comedy in the whole
Sure.
film.
Yeah, those are played for laughs. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, any good drama needs a bit of levity to,
of course, it does.
bring the
Of course it
tension
does. Yeah.
bring the tension down, just like a good horror film.
For me, a moment that stands out. So my wife and I both love this movie. She more than I, maybe she may have seen it more than I. It's the first CD she ever owned when she was a kid. So she was really big into it as well. You know, same generation, same the right age for all three of us, right? Where that's something that meant a lot to us as kids. And in All I Ever Wanted, when Pharaoh replies back to Moses, you know, is this what you wanted?
Oh yeah.
That is a line that the two of us say to each other all the time.
Oh no, that's the Plague song. All I ever.
You're right. It's because he's reprising All I Ever Wanted.
All I
yes,
ever
right.
wanted. Yeah.
Yes.
No. But is that what you say? That is this what you wanted?
All the time. Like if one of us like I don't know, I'm clumsy. If I like spill something or whatever, instead of being like, oh, look what you did, she'll be like, is this what you wanted?
I am going to do that the next time. Mary.
The next time
me
you're
to
over?
get something for no. Next time Mary asks me to get something for her, she will lose it. She loves this movie.
Is this what you wanted? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. We do that a lot. It's fun.
You know, the opening sequence of this film, like, you know, kind of like the Circle of Life I talked about before, is really spectacular. And we talked about Hans Zimmer's music as well, but like his pieces that are not lyrical pieces, but the melodic pieces of the film are outstanding.
The score is beautiful.
Is one of his best, like top 3 Hans Zimmer scores. Go and listen to the Prince of Egypt score. It's really...
I listened to it today. To brush up because I haven't listened to the score. Like usually I skip just to the songs.
Sure.
If I'm listening to it, but I hadn't listened to the score in some time. It's a beautiful score. I wish he still wrote like this too.
I know.
I really wish he did.
I know. Me too.
I miss that style. But it's beautiful and it's there to listen to whenever you want.
That's right. And he has tons of movies that do have that, maybe more melodic style, but he's in a new phase of his life. Good for him. So, Frank, do you have any final thoughts on The Prince of Egypt?
It's a visually beautiful and a musically beautiful movie with some pretty mature themes that is literally like appropriate and fun for the whole family. No matter what you believe, no matter what your beliefs are, it's just a good story about human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, good, Frank. You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com and Gmail and Twitter and Facebook. You can find at Frank Ramblings and I at Frank Ramblings and Timothy PG-13 on the Twitter. You can rate and review us on iTunes and find us all the places that podcasts can be found. Pretty much everywhere, obviously, because you're listening to us. And then, of course, you can go over to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio to check out all other Thought Bubble Audio shows to give us some money because it's Patreon, to help us keep the lights on. And you are able to get early access to new shows and to outtakes and to Frank Ramblings about Supergirl for Supergirl TV Talk and all such things. And, of course, you can check out my new podcast, Read Up, which is a delightful podcast all about books. Mountains of books.
Gads of books.
Towers of books. Anyway, so, Frank, I say until next time,
cheers.